Well, I'm not gonna lie. Uh, Part two could have been a whole lot better had I not gone off on a tangent of uh, trying to incorporate something into the app that was wholly unnecessary. Um, oh my goodness, pretty. I'm pretty worn out, to be honest with you. I haven't slept much in the past 72 80 something hours. I don't really know. I've slept here and there. But yeah, I had an idea for part two. Um, and initially I was thinking that really wouldn't be that big of a deal. I'd be able to implement it pretty quickly and easily. And then I realized as I got into it a little bit that it was going to take a little bit more elbow grease to kind of hammer out and get it working the way that I wanted to. But I don't know, it's kind of like playing a video game and trying to beat the boss level. I couldn't let it go. I kept trying. Um, and the further into it I got, the more I realized that I was totally straying away from what I originally said, and that was I was going to try and keep everything, at least almost everything, uh, within FlutterFlow, what FlutterFlow has to offer to do this tutorial, rather than going off into custom code on this particular app. And I even said in the beginning that if we wanted to go into deeper custom coding, we could do that at a different time. So I apologize. It got to a point where I was just kind of really wanting to complete my task, which, by the way, I did. I did get what I was looking for. But again, at the end of it, I realized that for all of you that are looking for quick iterations of clones and other apps that you're trying to make, basically programming the thing from scratch is probably not exactly what you're looking for right now. So, but yeah, just to give you an idea, this is what I've been doing for quite a while. Just lots and lots of that. Just writing line after line after line after line. So anyway, yeah, I'm kind of burned out on doing that. It'd be good if I don't have to do that for a while. So, and I even had to download. I had to download the actual code from the app to go in there and pull stuff out because FlutterFlow kind of has it set up in a different way than I'd prefer, quite frankly. So, but anyway, I'm rambling at this point. Bear with me. I am quite tired because I haven't slept in a while. So, as noted in a post that I made, whether you've seen it or not, I had to restart the app, build a new project, because the other project, the original TikTok clone project that I was working from, I successfully bricked that sucker out because I was throwing so much custom code into it. I guess it just couldn't handle it. It stopped importing stuff, and then it was telling me that everything was fine, everything looks great, but none of the builds would work or anything. So ended up scrapping that and starting over. Oh, and this is the video player widget from FlutterFlow, the one that I was working with. I got froggy with it, wanted to go in and do some stuff to it, and I ended up just totally screwing up my code on that. So I'm I'm fixing it and getting it back to the way it was. so that I can put it back in here, but I'm just using the video widget for now, which will work fine. You just can't pause it or anything. So, where was I on this? Let's see here. Okay. If you are using the video widget from FlutterFlow, you do need to put it as a child of a container in the stack to achieve the full screen view like that. If you don't put it in a container, it won't do that. So I do need to add this in here real quick and finish that. Oops, whoops, wrong one. There we go. Okay, so as noted, well, first of all, I had thought about doing something again with some custom coding, but FlutterFlow does not allow you to nest a page view widget within another page view. You can only have one page view, and obviously we're using that for our video feed. So I thought about doing a page view for swiping left to right to change the menu options that we'll put up here on this top bar, but I would have had to make a custom page view to do that. And again, I'm trying not to incorporate a whole lot of custom code into this app for the sake of attempting not to confuse people more than is necessary. And also, the more custom code that you incorporate, the more stuff you have to maintain, and the easier it is for things to break. So if you're not comfortable with coding, then it's not something you should probably dive into too much. So in parts 2 and 3, we should be able to nail it down in those 2 parts. We're going to basically take care of everything that needs to be done on this main page, and then we'll start branching off to the other pages and associated widgets from the various options that we're going to be adding here. So a couple of things that I want to do first. As noted, I've mentioned it before, I want to initiate something that will show the user an ad. Originally, I was going to have the ads in line with the video. So as the user scrolls through, something would trigger and cause an ad to show up as a video. But that fell in line with some of the custom code that I was doing, which, all things considered, it was pretty cool, but it was pretty complex to make it work the way that I wanted it to. And so I don't think that I'm gonna delve off in that right now, because like I said, it's a complex thing that you have to take care of, and then do adequate testing to make sure it's working and everything. But essentially, it would run a custom action along with some custom functions in the background that would register every time. So if you go right here to page view, so you've got the on-page swipe trigger. So it would take in the index of the page along with the number of swipes that had been performed. And then based off of those parameters, whatever you wanted them to be, it would make a call to the authenticated users document in association with advertisement documents that were stored in a sub-collection of the feed or posts collection, the main collection feeding in here. And it would associate that user to an advertisement, and then it would call that advertisement to be shown on the next swipe. So when the user swiped again to view another video, it would pop up an advertisement, and then it would run a timer so that they couldn't swipe away from that advertisement for X amount of seconds. And then on top of that, it would run another function that would take in the last time that they saw an advertisement, and it would basically make a statement that if the user hasn't stayed on X amount of videos for more than 3 seconds since the last ad, then it would basically nullify the entire function that was basing it off of the index and the page swipe to show another advertisement, so that the user wasn't getting bombarded by advertisements if they weren't watching videos for more than a certain amount of time. So if they're just swiping through, we wouldn't want to get them caught up on another advertisement. And then it also deployed a function that when the user swiped away from that advertisement, if they swiped back to go back to another video, it would hide that advertisement. They'd be able to go backwards and not see that ad again. So anyway, it was really, it's pretty nifty how it worked, but there were a lot of elements happening all at one time, and quite frankly, I think some of that should be handled off app. It should be some of it should be running in the background. Some of it because of FlutterFlow's own limitations, but also because it could probably cause things to get bogged down and possibly misfire a function that could end up causing problems. So anyway, we're not doing that though, just because of what I just explained. So we're actually going to trigger advertisements a different way. We're going to do it based off of these swipes, but we're gonna use the logic inside of FlutterFlow to calculate those swipes using a local state variable, and then if the local state reaches a certain count, then it will on a next swipe, it will deploy a bottom sheet that'll kind of come up and encompass the entire screen and be its own little kind of video, and then it'll have a non-dismissible statement, and it'll have a delay on it, so that the user will have to watch it for a certain amount of time before they can dismiss it and get rid of it. So that's how we're going to do the advertisements for this. So that'll kind of get you get your feet grounded on it and be able to work with that. And then, if you want to expand upon that and do something a little bit more complex and fancy, then you can definitely dive off in that if you'd like to. So that's what we're going to do with that. We're also going to, while we're on this page taking care of this stuff, we are going to we're going to run a fairly simple, straightforward function that will be initiated on page swipe, and what it will essentially do is it'll take in a time stamp on a page swipe, and it'll trigger again on the next page swipe, and it'll calculate the time that it took between those two page swipes, and then we can set that time to whatever we want to. I'm probably going to do it at like 10 seconds, maybe a little longer than that. And the way, yeah, probably longer than that, honestly. But what that's going to do is, if it meets the threshold of the certain amount of time between page swipes, then it's going to update the user's document, and it's going to add certain, perhaps hashtags or something else from the video that they're watching to the user's document, so that we can curate video feed to the user based off of content that they seem to like. You know, if they're watching a video for a while, then that indicates that might be something they're interested in, and so we can begin to kind of curate the data that way to show the user things that they might like to see more frequently. And so we'll run that function to gather in those tags into the user's document, and then present videos associated with those tags, and kind of do some other things to balance out those tags in a way that doesn't just get the user totally fixated on one type of tag, but provides them some content that they might find more interesting. And then something else that I'm going to do for anybody that uses Reddit, this would be familiar to you. Maybe it's available on other apps. I'm not entirely sure. But because our backend query for our main feed here does not give us the option to do infinite scroll, then we want to set a limit on how many documents are returned in that query. Otherwise, if you have millions and millions of documents, then your app is going to get really bogged down and you're going to spend a ton of money. So we want to set a limit on that, but we need to have a way to refresh the content. I'm not well, right now I'm not setting any filters. We'll come back to that at some point. I'm not going to do any order by. I'm just going to let the videos show up just kind of randomly. And that way, when the user does do a refresh on the query, it's just pulling in random stuff. It's not pulling it in any sort of order. If we're doing it by order, then it's quite possible, unless you have just a lot of users and a lot of uploads happening, that they would end up just getting the same videos over and over again, especially if we're doing it by like a date or a timestamp of when it was uploaded. So we want to again generate that and just not do an order by. And obviously I am going to do a single time query. I'm not going to have it as an open stream, so in other words, it's not going to be listening for updates automatically. The update to requery the data will have to be done manually by the user. So that way it's not just constantly feeding query results in, because that can get cumbersome as well as expensive if you're doing it that way. So in this way, it encourages the user to refresh. And then something else that we will look at, I'm not gonna tackle it yet. We'll get to it shortly. But we are going to have obviously some different menu options up here, similar to TikTok. And I'm planning on having 3 main like video streams. Probably going to have something maybe like Discover, which would be just a bunch of random videos that aren't really curated to the user. It's for them to discover new videos and things like that. Then maybe a section that says for you or something along those lines. And those would be videos that are associated with tags that have been collected by the user, depending on other videos that they've watched. And then I'll probably have another spot up here for other users that the authenticated user is following, so you can curate data specific to that. And I've been mulling over the best way to handle that. As noted earlier, if I wanted to try and nest this page view into another page view, I would have to have a custom built page view in order to do that. And at that point, the entire thing would be custom built to be able to nest everything inside of each other so that we could swipe left to right as well as up and down. And, that aside from the fact that we're not going to dive into the coding of that right now, having two page views, one nested in another, could cause some conflict in how it behaves. And that is probably the reason FlutterFlow doesn't allow it, is because it could cause some issues. But anyway, so we're not going to do a page view. I don't really want to do tabs, because if I go with tabs, then I'm probably going to have to utilize some additional backend or page level parameters and functions to ensure that the queries on each of those tabs don't initiate all at the same time. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of lag trying to load everything simultaneously. Tabs do have the UI that I want, of just being able to kind of swipe back and forth between the two. But it comes with its own caveats of potential problems. So I don't know that we're going to go that route. I haven't quite decided yet. My other option that I'm looking at, seeing if it's a viable option that won't be overly complicated for everyone following this tutorial, is deploying gesture control or gesture detector. There's a bunch of different ones out there. FlutterFlow makes use of gesture controls for taps and double taps, long press, things like that. But aside from some of their widgets that they don't have a gesture control that allows you to just be able to swipe and then swiping be able to achieve a result just on the main part of your app, or added to widgets that you choose. So what I'm looking at doing is potentially doing an overlay, a transparent overlay that won't interfere with anything else that we've got going on here. And then assigning gesture control left, right swiping to that overlay, and then navigating to actual separate pages, which would resolve the issue of slow load times. So that's a possibility to do it that way. But I'm still, again, mulling over exactly the route that I want to go with it, because deploying a custom widget and action with gesture controls, and then importing some of the packages from within your app to be able to call up your paths to the pages that you want to navigate to, can pose a little bit challenging, especially since FlutterFlow doesn't always want to initiate those imports for some reason. So anyway, there's our baseline for what we're looking at in parts 2 and 3. So in part 2, thing that I'm going to dive into right now is I am going to go ahead and we're going to work through the process of doing the advertisements that are signaled by page swipe, local state for the user's device, and how all of that translates and works together. Doing it this way on the front end is pretty straightforward and simple. If you've never messed with local state, which is now called app state, used to be called local state, but they changed it because it has additional functionality now. We're not going to do a whole lot in here right now, but this will at least kind of show you one of the reasons that it's useful. All right, so first thing that I want to do then is I'm going to go ahead and go over to my collections and get this taken care of. You may note that in the other app in part 1, I had labeled this as posts. I've changed it to feed, but it's the same thing. It's feeding into the videos, and I haven't filled out all this data yet. Just trying to get stuff rebuilt. But right now we're going to focus on advertisements and advertisers. I'm going to trying to think of the best way to put this. I'm not going to build an entire TikTok replica down to the every little detail, because that would take forever. But I'm going to kind of brush the surface of various elements that I think would be important to the app. So if we have advertisers, then I think it'd be worthwhile having advertiser accounts. So this would be like their top level account and their business name, and we'll do some stuff in here to kind of make sense of how that's going to work, but so that the advertiser can have a kind of an overview of what their advertisements are doing. And again, I'm not going to overly complicate the presentation of that. This just kind of give you a baseline of what you can do, and then you can take it from there and figure out exactly how you want to incorporate all that. And then I'm going to do a sub collection under the advertiser accounts, and it's just going to be advertisements, so that they can curate those easily. Okay. So now we've got advertisements pulled up here, we'll have kind of a baseline to be able to pull the ad data from, which would obviously be this sub collection here. And in here, let's see, as far as some fields to get us started, create a date. And there's a couple of ways that I want to allow the advertiser to run their ads. And of course, there's a bunch of different ways you could do it, but for this, we're going to do two different ways. We're going to have where the ad can run for a certain amount of views. So every time a user views it, it'll take away from the number of allotted views for that advertisement. And then we're also going to do a duration. So we'll do a future date function when the advertisement is created, and then the advertiser could choose, they want it to run for 24 hours, 3 days, 7 days, however long. And then after that period of time elapses, then the advertisement would become inactive and would no longer be visible unless they wanted to pay additional money to get it updated. So for now, I'm going to base the advertisements around the fact that this is a video app. So the advertisements will be video based, with some small amount of text, just like in a description for a video that a user would upload. But we'll also have some action buttons for maybe visiting a website or contact, email, phone number, something like that. So I think just go ahead and do a video field. Since I am using the FlutterFlow video widget, then I want to choose the video path from here. If I choose string, it won't work with their widget. But if and when I incorporate that other widget back in, the one that I'd written, then we'll use string to get the URL for the video. But we'll go ahead and do it here. And then we'll do content, which will be a string. And then if we do, let's do add by views as an integer, and then we'll do add by date, and set that to date time. And then we'll do, let's see here. Let's do do that, and I'll do we'll also do is active. Okay. And let's see. Let's do contact phone. Yeah, we'll do it that way. And we'll do contact email, and then we'll do contact website. I think that'll be sufficient for that information. And then I'm also going to and whether I roll this out in the tutorial in depth or not, I'll at least give you kind of a baseline of what I'm thinking here. But I'm going to collect every user that sees this advertisement. I'm gonna do users seen reference. And I'm going to collect the reference list reference to those documents. I'm not going to present the private information of the user to the advertisers. It's going to be anonymous to some degree, but essentially what I'm going to do here is in the advertiser's dashboard, if they want to look at geographic information or demographics or things like that, we'll be able to pull information from the users who saw their advertisements, and we'll be able to pull data from their accounts and maybe get like rough estimates of locations, times that the ads were viewed, and things like that, age groups, just to give them some statistics, the advertisers, some statistics as to who is seeing their advertisements and when. And we might even we'll have to just see. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in here, but we may record the average duration that users view the ad. Obviously, the users won't be able to leave the advertisement for a certain amount of time, but this will, if we utilize this, then this will give the advertiser a baseline as to whether the ad is being skipped immediately as soon as the user can, or if the users are hanging around and watching it for a little bit longer. So let's see here. I'll do it as a double. Well, I don't know if I want that as a double or not. Yeah, we'll just leave it. That'll be fine for now. So yeah, okay. I think that'll do it for us for the time being for the advertiser accounts advertisements. So now we have data that we can pull to our advertisements. So let's go back over here and start working on getting that advertisement flow in place for the users. All right, so we want to go ahead and get the workflow set up here for advertisements. We need to make a bottom sheet, obviously do the layout for that, and then call some data to it with some variables. I do want to try and mimic inside of FlutterFlow using what they make available to try and mimic what I was doing in custom code. as best as possible. Now, whether it's going to work quite the same, it's hard to say. We'll test it and see, but I can at least put the logic out there, and then we can go from there, and give it a try and see if the UI and the front end can keep up with it. So that in mind, what I would like to do is what I had mentioned before about excuse me, about calculating a time from the last time the user saw an advertisement, and how quickly the user is swiping through videos, so as to not show the user another advertisement too quickly, because if we have the ads to show up on every 10 swipes, and the next 10 videos after the ad the user just watched are just awful videos, boring or whatever, and then they get slapped with another advertisement within 30 seconds or less, that can get you some bad reviews and dissuade users from wanting to use the app. So let's try and do this in FlutterFlow and see if we can make it work. Let's see here. I think we need to go into my collections real quick. Set a couple of fields in here. Let's do I'll do that, and we'll set that as a timestamp, and then we'll do okay, so we'll do average duration since last ad, and we'll set that as, we'll do it as a double. Okay. All right, so we got these two fields in here. So we'll have to do a couple of functions, really simple functions, but we will have to utilize them to make this work. So let's go over here and go ahead and get one of these going. What I want to do for the first one, so let me go back over here. Just look at this real quick. So when a user dismisses an advertisement, so advertisement pops up, whatever button they click on, even if they click on a button to go contact the business or whatever, we wanted to update the user, and quite frankly, we could probably do this locally. Might not be a bad idea. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I think we should do it in local state. Leave that there for now. So, oh, come on now. Well, I don't really like that. Let's do. Yeah, let's do that. Set that as a date time. And no, we won't persist this. And then let's do the average. And set that as a double. Okay, that should work. That should be better, so you're not having to make a bunch of calls to your Firestore for no reason. All right, so still need to go in here then and get our custom functions going. So the first function that I want to do, and again, I think I'm backtracking on myself here. hopefully I'm not repeating myself. But again, whenever the user closes out or in some way interacts with the advertisement, it's going to update the user's local state instead of their document. And it's going to update this add last seen timestamp. I almost wonder if that should be persisted. Yeah, that might need to be, shoot. Yeah, let's go ahead and let's change that. Okay. So anyway, whenever they interact with that advertisement, it will update their local state here, and it'll plug in the current date time of when that interaction took place. And also during that action flow, if there's anything in here, we'll probably go ahead and run an update or a delete action to remove any data that's in here, so that we're starting fresh, because essentially what we're going to be doing with our functions and whatnot is we're going to do some calculations between date times whenever the user interacts with an advertisement and then moves on throughout the app and is looking at other videos. And it'll take that time span and do a average calculation and plug it in here. And once that average calculation passes our threshold number of however long we want that to be, at that time, the user will be eligible again for receiving another advertisement. So we'll want to, whenever they basically restart the process and update this date time, we'll have them delete that. Okay, so that'll work. So let's go down here and let's go ahead and get our functions going then, because we're ready for those. And let me look through here real quick. I've got a lot of functions written over in my files, so I probably have something that'll work. Let's go ahead and get our functions taken care of here. That's not the right spot. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just grab these from over here. I already have these written up. Something we can use for them anyway. Let's see. Yeah, these were functions that I was actually using when I was doing the full coding for the back end to kind of do what we're trying to do here. So I'm gonna grab this right here. And then paste that in there. Let's go ahead and give this a different name. This one, let's see. These are my dates, my time between dates. So, yeah, okay. Sorry, just thinking. Let's do. Oops. Help us keep track of that. Okay, so that's gonna be the name, and then I need to. So I'm gonna set my my return value. Just gonna set that as an integer, and then my arguments. This will be my date time stamps here. So we'll do start as 1, which again that'll be date time, and then we'll do end as another, and we'll do that as date time as well. seconds from timestamp. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And we'll deselect nullable across all of them because they cannot be. Should be good to go there. So I'm going to go ahead and save that function and check for errors real quick. Just make sure it's good. Okay. All right, so that one's good to go. So let's go ahead and grab our other function, and this is going to be the function that calculates the average from the number that's already stored in the user's local variable, and it'll calculate that number against the number that we get from this function until the average surpasses the required threshold. So let me go over here real quick. Looks like I do have an average one. Yep, good deal. So I'm going to, I think I'm, oops, not a boolean, double. I'm going to, the return value is going to be in a double. Let me name this. Let's see. Let's do just to get average. Actually, I'm gonna spell that all the way out there. So get average, and then we need, yeah, let's put that in there. And then we'll define our arguments here. So it looks like I've already got some arguments going on there. So user number. So that would be the seconds pulled from the local variable from the user. So that would be, we'll do as double. And then the second one is action number, which is kind of a, wonder why I worded it like that. A weird way to word that. I may change that. Yeah, I think I will. I'm gonna do timestamp number, so it's a little bit more direct there. And that's obviously an integer. And then let's see here, let me just copy this and replace this so that they match up. Oops. Okay, there we go. All right, so let me save that real quick and just check for my errors, just make sure everything's good. Okay, good. So, so just to cover on these again real quick, and these are extremely simple little functions here. This is going to take the timestamp from the user's local variable, and it's going to take the timestamp, the current timestamp. When this function is initiated, it'll grab the current timestamp, and it'll calculate the seconds between user's timestamp and current timestamp to spit out a number in seconds, and then it'll take that number and it will grab the number, the average number that's already in, if there is one, there may not be one, but if there is a number in the user's local variable, it'll grab that number and then it'll add it to the seconds that we got from this function, and then it'll divide by 2, and that'll give us our rough average there for how long the user has or what the average time frame is between when the user last viewed an ad to the current time. So just to make sure that the user isn't getting bombarded with advertisements. All right, so that's good to go. So we got our functions in there. I don't have the advertisement thing set up yet. So let's just kind of mimic it so I can show you how it's going to work, and then I'll get it all set up. So let's just pretend that that's the advertisement popped up and the user's getting ready to dismiss that. So let's go ahead and we're going to do 2 here. So the user dismisses the advertisement. So we're going to update. We're going to update app state here. We're going to add a field, and we're going to get add last seen. We'll do that one first. So that's our date time. And then we will update that. We'll set the value to global properties current time. Okay, and then we can actually go ahead and add this other field in here, which is the average time since the last advertisement. And if there is any value in there, then we want to just go ahead and clear that. So we're starting with a fresh slate since they did just view an advertisement. So that's how we do that to update the local variables there. So now the user is good to go. Let's go ahead and close that out. We don't need that, obviously. We'll apply that to the actual advertisements here shortly. So now we can go ahead and start working with, let's see, our page view. This is where we're going to want to set up some actions on the on-page swipe. So the very first thing that we want to do on a page swipe then is we want to do a conditional action, and we want to go ahead and just run a single condition here, and we want to grab from app state the average time field for that user, and just leave that blank there. We'll do greater than, and I'm going to specify. So now this is where I would determine what the threshold is that the user needs to surpass before they become eligible to see advertisements again. So I think what I'd probably do then, I think I'd do 3 seconds. You don't want it to be too terribly long. You do want to be able to get ads to them, but you don't want it to. You don't want to be pushing ads to them if they're flipping through your app super fast, trying to get through things. So the very first condition then on page swipe would be is that average time since the last ad greater than 3 seconds. So now we can move on from there. Okay, so if it's not greater than 3 seconds, then we want to deploy our functions to continue to essentially calculate that number upwards, so that it meets the threshold and the user can become eligible for advertisements again. So we go in here and let's go ahead and do an action, and Firestore. I'm sorry, no, we're doing local state. That's right. So update app state and add a field, and we're going to do the this one right here, the average time. And let's see here, we want to set the value. We're not incrementing on top of what's already there because we're taking what's there and calculating it against another value. So we actually just want to set the value, and that's going to be obviously a variable. And then we're going to go down here to our custom functions, and we are going to do get average, and we're going to plug in the user's number here. So we'll come into app state on the user number, go to the variable, we'll go to app state, and we'll grab the average time since ad. and we'll plug it in there. And then we want to get the timestamp number, the number of seconds to plug in here. So we'll go to this variable, and we will go down here to our custom functions, and we'll run our other custom function, which will take the start, which is go back to app state, and we get that from add last seen date, and then we get our current time, global properties, current time. Okay, so now this function's gonna take that time, and this time, and it's gonna see how many seconds have passed between those two timestamps. It'll plug those seconds in there, and then our average function here will calculate the average between our current number that's in the local variable for that user. If there is a number, there may not be, but I'll take that number against this number, which I believe is add those two together, divided by 2, and whatever that result is, it will plug it in here as the value for the average time since the user last saw an advertisement. All right, so we got that taken care of. So that's it's pretty easy, straightforward. Like I said, I'm hopeful this will work. I could see it. I mean, the logic and the actions are correct. That aspect should work, but part I'm worried about is if a user is flippantly swiping through the videos so quickly that these actions can't run fast enough to keep up. So that could potentially cause a problem. So definitely worth testing, but you get the general idea of what we're trying to do here anyway. All right, so let's go over here and assume that the average time is, I just thought about something. If we clear that field, that's going to be a problem. So what we want to do then, yeah, I'm glad I thought about that, because when we clear that field, every time a user views an ad and it resets everything, that would be, well, no, that'd be right. Yeah. I don't know. Ooh, sleepy. I'm trying to keep up here. Yeah, that's right. Jeez, my goodness. I think I need to take a nap. That should be correct. If it's set to 0 or empty, that means that the user has seen another ad recently. So, yeah, okay. So that's right then. All right, so we'll leave that alone. So over here in true, if the average time since is greater than 3, then we need to go ahead and initiate the action flow for a user that is eligible for another advertisement. And before we do that, we actually need to go back into local state and add another field. And we're going to name this one, let's do add swipe count. And we'll set that as an integer. And we will persist that, yes, definitely. All right, probably persist the other one too. But where was I? Go back here. So now we're going to do another conditional action here. And this one, we're going to go, we're going to set a single condition here, and we're going to go into app state, and we're going to grab the swipe count here. And we want to check, and again, you can set this to whatever you want, however many times you want the user to swipe through the video feeds before initiating an advertisement. But I'm going to do greater than or equal to 10. So if the user is eligible for an advertisement and they have swiped through 10 videos, then an advertisement will be triggered. So now it's going to look at that, say add swipe count, is it equal to or greater than 10? And if true, just toss an action in here, even though I'm not going to do anything with it yet. But if it was true, then we would initiate that advertisement, and it would pop up for the user there. But if not true, if false, then we want to add an action. Go to our update app state, add field, add swipe count, and we want to increment that, and I'm going to increment it by 1. All right. Okay. That's for the bottom sheet there. So just to recap real quick, we've got this condition here that's checking if the average time since the user was last exposed to an advertisement is greater than 3 seconds. If false, then it runs our functions here, our custom functions that take the time stamp when the user last was exposed to an advertisement, and it gets the seconds between that time and the current time, and then it runs the function where it gets the average between the current amount of seconds in the user's local variable against the seconds that were just calculated through that timestamp function, and it updates that accordingly. If the average time is greater than 3, then the user becomes eligible for an advertisement again. And now it's going to check and see if the add swipe count, the number of times that the user has swiped through the videos since having become eligible again for an advertisement, is greater than or equal to 10. If true, then an advertisement will be deployed for the user to view. And if false, then we will update the user's local variable add swipe count, increment it by 1 until it reaches 10. And of course, that field, the add swipe count, is persisted, as well as the timestamp. And honestly, I probably would persist the average time as well. Otherwise, somebody could keep logging or closing the app and never have to watch an advertisement again. So, so we want to persist that, definitely. All right, so that's how we're going to do that, and we'll test it and see how well it works. Again, with a lot of people flipping through videos, I don't know how well the front end can handle something like this, especially running some functions like that. But it's worth a shot anyway. So that takes care of that. A couple of quick things to do there. Something else I want to do real quick. This video is getting kind of long, and I apologize. My mind is a little slow because I'm extremely sleepy, so it's kind of lagging here. But in any case, I'm going to go ahead and take care of one more thing. Before I cut this part 2 off, and then we'll move on to part 3. And I'll try and see if I can get that wrapped up later today. So the thing that I want to do now then is I want to go ahead and set my refresh button. So I'm going to go down here. Let's see here. I want to do that here under my top level stack, and I'm just going to select a button and go down here to vertical alignment and kind of put it down the middle, and then I'm going to take it back up quite a ways here. Let's see here, a little bit more than that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to put it right there, and probably won't spend too much time adjusting things here. But we will. Make it look pretty anyway, to some degree. And then let's see here. Set this, kind of round it off a little bit. All right, so what I want to do then for this, I guess I'll go ahead and set my action on it. So if the user taps the refresh button, when it becomes visible, what we're going to do is we're going to do the refresh database request, and we'll select the page view as our widget, and that way it'll refresh the list of items that are being queried. And yeah, I'd say we probably do want to wait for the result before anything else happens. And as far as what you would set as your max and maximum times for how long you'd want to wait is, up to you. Probably, I'm just going to do 3 seconds for now. And of course, if for some reason this refresh fails, then you would want to have like a conditional action or something of that nature, and some kind of alert, something pop up on the screen, whatever you want to do that says load failed or something like that. Please try again. So you do want to make sure that you indicate that if the refresh doesn't go through. All right, so now we've got our action applied there. So now I'm going to go ahead and put an animation on it. I'm going to do an on action trigger for it, and I'm just going to do slide, and I think I'll do elastic, and I do want to hide and apply initial state, hide before animating. This doesn't matter because I'm not going to use different animations for this. I'm just going to use the slide. And then I want to, let's see here. See if I went the right way on that. It's kind of hard to tell. Push that down. I think I am. Yeah. Okay, so kind of don't want it to go that far down. So to 52 and see how it looks there. Yeah, I think that'd work. All right, so that's my animation there. So when that button receives its trigger, then it'll drop down. Now I am going to, even though it is hide before animating, of course, when it becomes visible, it would be on top of this app bar up here and just wouldn't look very good. So we want to right click on it and go ahead and bring backwards one time, get it put behind that app bar, and then you can preview it and you can see it kind of drops down from behind there. It looks a little bit better. Now we need to set an actual trigger for that to expose that widget. And so what I'd probably end up doing then is just doing a page level action on page load. And probably there's a couple of ways you can go about doing this. I could use the wait delay, but I've actually found that thing kind of messes up. It really depends on what you're wanting to do after that delay, but I've had it have some really bizarre results where it would like display something over and over and over again when the delay finished. So I don't know. I try not to use that, at least not on page level stuff, because it can have some trouble. So what I'd probably do then, let's see, it's really kind of debatable how I want to do this. It's I don't know. There's a few different ways because let's see. So I think what I'll do is just on page load, I'm just going to do a timer periodic action. I could, if I wanted to, I could go in and I could set another local variable with a true false statement, and then I could have a conditional in here that if the refresh button is set to true, if it is visible, then essentially it would stop or pause the periodic action so that the button animation would not reanimate. But I think I'll let it reanimate. So once the button is revealed, so I would do start periodic action, turn that off because I don't want the button to be revealed as soon as the page loads. I want the timer to run first. Remember, this calculates in milliseconds, so every 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second. And I would want that. I'd want that. I wouldn't want it to pop up too quickly. Let's see. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how long it would take somebody before they would be looking for a refresh point. Might do 180. Do 3 minutes, so it'd be 180,000 milliseconds, or 180 seconds. So every 3 minutes, then I add an action here, and then I'd go down and find my widget animation and select my button there, and then start that animation. So, which I guess I could do a different. Yeah, I don't know how I'd want to do that, to be honest with you. I could, let's see here. Do the widget animation and start the animation. Enabling that would be non-blocking. No, I'm gonna leave that. So yeah, I think that's what I'll do. Is I'll just leave it like that. And that way after 3 minutes, this thing will drop down and it'll just stay there, and unless they click it and tap on it, and then when the 3 minutes cycles over again, it'll just reanimate, so it'll be right. In theory, I guess I could do another periodic action to follow this for a shorter period of time, where following that that periodic action would result in the widget animation reversing and going back to its original state. So that's just something to think about. Just really depends on how you'd want to have that set up. So anyway, I would have it set up like that and just let it do its thing. I do need to grab the button here real quick, and I need to set an additional action here, which I would want this to happen first and then to do the refresh. So I'd go down here to my widget animation and select that button again, and then I would reset. I guess I could reverse it. Nah, I just reset it. Okay, so I just reset the animation on it when it's tapped, and then I'd refresh the database request there. Okay, so that's I'm good with all of that right now. So in part 3, we will configure the advertising bottom sheet, and then we'll go ahead and plug in all of our menu items through here, and these that are on here we'll get this entire menu taken care of in part 3, so that all of that stuff is doing something, and set up the comments and things like that. And also need to set up a little collapsible field here for some written content. All right, so yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for hanging in there. Hopefully this was helpful to you in this part. Also, just want to let everybody know, I've made a decision that for the foreseeable future, I am not planning to charge for tutorials. I'm not gonna put anything behind a paywall. Now I will be kind of choosy as to which in-depth tutorials that I'll be doing, but the ones that'll be coming up, including the one I'm already working on, will be free, just like these are. So you'll be able to get access to that, and the one that is being worked on, I don't know if I've updated recently on what that is, but I settled on going with basically kind of a food delivery service type thing, kind of like a DoorDash or similar. I think that would be a good one to kind of go over with live, well, near real time map tracking, and I do intend to kind of go over a little bit with the Firebase real-time database, so that you could have real-time live map tracking, but it won't be a main focal point. So anyway, we'll I'll have that thing hopefully soon. It's going to be a pretty good tutorial. I think it'll cover a lot of stuff I haven't gone over yet. But yeah, not going to put anything behind a paywall at this time. So definitely enjoy it while it's available. And as always, if you like what I do and want to help me be able to continue to only sleep for a couple of hours every 4 days, you can buy me a coffee, because I have consumed quite a few coffees here in the past 48 hours, but it's starting to wear off. And as a matter of fact, I need to go buy some more. I think I'm out, or I'm about to be. So anyway, you can find my buy me a coffee link in the description of this video, as well as a link to the Discord server. It's probably the best way for you to connect with me. Some folks connected on Telegram, but Discord seems like the better way to go going forward. And of course, got questions, need help, whatever, just holler. I'll do what I can. All right, I think that's it for now. Take it easy. See you on the next one.